Well, another man was shot dead this week by police, and Winnipeg police say the number of mental health calls continues to go up. On Tuesday, the Winnipeg Police Tactical Support Team was called to a home in the North End. Officers say they were asked to apprehend a man and take him to hospital for an involuntary examination under the province's Mental Health Act. They say the man refused, appearing agitated, and barricaded himself into the home. When police went in to bring him out, they say the man discharged a fire extinguisher at them. They say the man confronted police with a long-edged weapon, and that's when he was shot. Here's some of what Acting Police Chief Art Stannard told reporters yesterday.
It is tragic. It's whenever a police interaction results in a death. No family wants to hear that their loved ones died during a police encounter. Nobody does. It's also tragic for the community as well. Like the family, they're asking questions, and they're asking questions why and what happened. Today, the service gave you a summary, but a brief summary of the events leading up to the use of force encounter. This information is limited because the incident is now in the hands of IAU. But we felt, as a service, it was important to provide some information to you so you can get out to your readers and your listeners and try to put a little concept to it. That's all I have to say. I know this is going to be an open question, but I want to say just one more thing, please. I want to conclude by saying something about our members. No police officer or their families want to be involved in a lethal force encounter. Police officers take an oath to protect lives, and they take that oath very seriously. They respect the life. They want to help people. In this case, they were mandated by the Mental Health Act to take the male into custody and take him for a medical assessment.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Emerson. I'm the Superintendent of Community Engagement with the Winnipeg Police Service. To provide some context, Chief Smythe noted the number of calls that we respond to under the well-being category. The well-being events continue to trend upward compared to previous years. It remains the top citizen-generated call for service that the Winnipeg Police Service responds to for the 4th year in a row. The WPS attended to 21,000 well-being checks. That's an average of 58 a day, an increase of 4% over 2022 and 16% higher than the 5-year average. Some of these may or may not involve calls involving mental health. Mental health can deeply impact people's well-being. Events are emotionally charged, and our members have limited information when they're responding.
That was Winnipeg Police Superintendent of Community Engagement, Bonnie Emerson. And before her, you heard from Acting Police Chief Art Stannard. The full press conference is on the Winnipeg Police Service's YouTube page. Joining us now in studio is Mayor Scott Gillingham for our monthly talk segment. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Emily.
So let's start with your reaction to that story about police. How concerned are you about the number of mental health calls for police being on the rise?
Well, first of all, my sincere condolences to this family who have lost a loved one. And as you point out, Emily, and as the police point out, the number of calls the police are receiving related to wellness checks and the number of mental health calls does continue to climb and trend upward. And that's a concern, especially when police show up and if there's a weapon involved, they have, they're put in a difficult situation. Now, we do have the ARC program, the Alternative Response to Citizen Crisis Program, which is important and is growing and showing signs of good results. But they're called in. The ARC program is called in, when there's not a violent situation, when it's safe enough to do so. But if we as a community can get to individuals who are struggling with mental health sooner, if there can be prevention, obviously, that's really what we need to get to so that police are not called in these circumstances.
And is that something the city is working on?
We are working in partnership with the province of Manitoba on that. And just to go back to that ARC program, we have said as a city that we are ready, our police are ready to add more officers. The ARC program is a case where you have a plain-clothed police officer with a mental health worker, a support worker, that partner together and respond to individuals who are in maybe having a mental health crisis or can even do preventative work. We have police officers ready to go. The province, thankfully, recently, this government has just announced they're going to hire 100 more individuals. And some of those individuals can go to help us collectively expand our ARC program and serve people with mental health better.
Meanwhile, looking at the use of lethal force, this is the fifth person who died after interactions with Winnipeg police just over the last 4 months, and 3 of them were related to mental distress calls. Can you help us understand what oversight City Hall has over the Winnipeg Police Service, especially when it comes to things like that?
Well, the mayor and council and even the police board cannot direct the operations of the police service. But the police board is put in place under provincial legislation, and one of the legislative roles of the board is to ensure that the police service is delivered in a manner that's consistent with the needs and the values and the expectations of the community. And that's specific. Those words are right from the legislation. So the police board puts in place policy to ensure that police are operating in a way that is what the community would expect. And one of the things that we'll be discussing as a police board, I sit on the board. Councillor Marcus Chambers is the chair of the board. But I sit on the board, and one of the things we will be discussing at the next public police board meeting is asking the police to explain how they respond to mental health calls.
And that next Winnipeg board meeting is in March. What other questions will you have?
Well, I think first of all, we'll just ask the police to explain, what their protocols are related to how they, when they respond to or get a call related to a mental health situation. And I think once they give their answer, it'll allow the board to ask questions from there. It is a concern, and absolutely it's a concern when we see individuals who are struggling in a mental health crisis, whatever the case may be, and they end up, because through the interaction of the police service, they lose their lives. It's tragic. Nobody wants it. You heard the deputy chief talk about, acting chief Stander talk about, even the police don't want it. I believe him on that. The police officers I know do want to go to work, do their job well, and protect the community and protect life.
That's going to be quite the conversation. So pivoting to the budget, the latest 2024 Winnipeg budget, we know that 3 city pools are slated to close. 2 of them in St. Boniface. The other is the Eldon Ross pool in the Brooklands neighborhood. And in St. Boniface, these will be the second and third pools to close since 2019. What would you say to people in that community who are frustrated to be losing these amenities?
Well, difficult decisions, tough budget decisions had to be made. And so I can absolutely appreciate that people in St. Boniface or other places where they may be losing an amenity where we're looking at decommissioning something would be frustrated. I think what's important to understand that is in St. Boniface, for example, in close proximity to the Windsor Park pool, which is one of the ones that we're looking at decommissioning, is the Bonnie Vitel pool. And so we are making a $9 million investment in the Bonnie Vitel pool, which is a year-round pool. And we get to this place, Emily, where we've got city assets that are aging, some of them very old, and we have to make the decision whether or not to put more money into old infrastructure or to start investing in new. And so this budget also includes $20 million of brand new investment in spray pads, which are new aquatic features, new aquatic facilities that are really, really popular right now. They don't require lifeguards to be present. I know, I understand a spray pad is not the same as a swimming pool. I understand that. But these are new investments of $20 million that we're looking to make over the next several years.
But like you mentioned, it's not a pool. A spray pad is for 5-year-olds. What about older kids? They might not have transportation to get to the Bonnie Vitel pool, and older people who are trying to get some exercise. What would you say to them losing that?
Well, the Windsor Park pool and the Bonnie Vitel pool, I think, are about 2 kilometers or less than 2 kilometers from one another. Happy Land is just a little bit further down the way. Both Happy Land pool and Windsor Park combined need investments of around $7-8 million just to upgrade them. We've had an issue related to a rising water table that has affected some of our outdoor pools as well. And they're seasonal pools. Those are both outdoor pools, Happy Land and Windsor Park, that are not heated. As I said, though, just not too far from their Bonnie Vitel pool, we are making a $9 million investment to upgrade that pool.
Still a bit far, though, for someone without a car.
I can appreciate these are difficult decisions, and if money wasn't an object, we could do it all. But we have to make decisions, and I think the residents also expect us to make decisions related to value for money, and looking at some of the assets that the city has, as I said, that are aging, that are very, very old. Many of the city's facilities were there present in the respective communities before Unicity. St. Vital, St. Boniface has more pools in that community per capita than most other places. In fact, there's 8 wards. 8 of the 15 wards don't even have a pool. And so it's a difficult decision. I do appreciate that, but we are making the investment in Bonnie Vital and in spray pads.
So shifting now to the Arlington Bridge, the budget made no mention of plans for repairs or replacement. We've heard from Winnipeggers who say the bridge is a vital link for people in that area, especially for those who don't have a car to drive to another bridge. Why wasn't that made a priority in the budget?
Well, we have been consistent. The Arlington Bridge, Chief Peguis Trail Extension, the Kennesaw Route 90 projects are all capital works that we are waiting on reports on. So we had indicated early that, I'd said before, don't expect any of these projects, any of the 3 of them, to be reflected in the budget because we have to get the information back first from the consultants who are doing work on each of those projects, including Arlington Bridge, to find out what the next steps are. So there was no money in the budget this year because we still need the information before we can make a determination.
How long do you think that's going to take?
We should have information on all 3 of those projects, certainly within this year. Within the coming months, I expect most of those reports back in the first 6 months of this year.
Okay. And so, of course, we've been talking about the budget and, what isn't in it. What do you see as the upside of the spending plan?
Well, there's a lot of, I think, really, really good investment in this budget. We have a 45% increase in tree pruning and tree planting. Expanded library hours. A new library is going in the northwest corner of Winnipeg. We've increased funding to 311. There's an increase to arts funding as well, with a new, among other things, a new capital grant to the arts of it'll be $2 million over 4 years. There's also next generation 911 service to improve our emergency response, and there's new transit routes coming, especially in the newer suburbs. There's at least 4 new transit routes coming to expand our transit service to Winnipeggers.
And just quickly before you go, the last 30 seconds or so, there's a lot happening this weekend. What are you going to be up to, Mayor?
There is a lot happening. Of course, we're celebrating Winnipeg 150, and I'm going to take in the Winnipeg Gallery at the Manitoba Museum. They have a Winnipeg Gallery celebrating Winnipeg 150. So if you get a chance to, if listeners get a chance to check out the Manitoba Museum, I encourage them to do that. And I'm taking in Festival de Voyageurs as well. Heyho.ca is the website for all festival information, and that's always a great winter activity for family and friends.
Good times. Well, say hi to the mayor if you're out there and you see him there. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Emily.
That's Mayor Scott Gillingham.
Thank you for watching the CBC Manitoba YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. For the latest breaking news and top stories, download the CBC News app.